Chapter 13. Dear Mama, this is the hardest letter that I have ever written. I have to write the truth and say what I mean, which has been hard for me all my life and has driven you nuts with exasperation. You have been left guessing most of the time about what I am feeling and even what I am doing. It is also a bit late, perhaps, to be writing to you so candidly when you are actually dead. But I have no idea what that really means. And there is always, as I have said earlier, a chance that you are watching. It was mostly an utter pleasure knowing you. How strong and beautiful you were. How wise and kind. I could not, thinking back, have had a better teacher and mother. Now that you are dead, things make a little more sense, and I can see that you were full of love for me, and that you always did the best you could. I didn't make things easy, I acknowledge that. I was so angry with you, and I wanted you to be more than you were, and to be more like me. I wanted you to see the things the way I saw them, and I thought you were so often wrong. I hated how you wouldn't let Dad go, and I hated how you didn't seem to understand me. I hated how you didn't like what I liked, and how you seemed to want me to be something and someone else. But Mum, I expected too much from you, and gave you too little back. How could I have been so blind? Of course you couldn't deal with your marriage ending. Most people can't, so why did I expect you to sail through it and come out smiling and fighting? You didn't know what to do, and your soul was crushed. If you did know what to do, you would have done it. I'm sorry I didn't help. I really didn't help. You were so alone, and none of us understood you. I'm so horrified that you had such a breakdown as I think it was now, and that none of us understood. The times when I was at rock bottom, though, you turned up and took control for me when I couldn't take another step. When my children were born, when the births were so difficult, you were there with me in the labour room. When my own marriage ended, you did what you could to ease the burdens of raising 3 tiny children. In those years when I divorced, I was patently unable to cope at all, and you simply kept turning up to help again and again and again. Thank you for that. Oh, thank you too for never leaving me when I went from bad to worse, as I tried to be a mother and a father to the children, and I tried to have a career. You did so much for us all. My children love you more than they love me sometimes. You never let them down. I did. In those years, you tried to help me as much as you could. Thank you, Mum. Mum, when Steve died, do you remember you came to the house and made me lunch? You were just there. You were the first person I called from his bedside, and you just said something kind. Your tone of voice full of comfort and love. And when I eventually got home, there you were in my kitchen, making me food and asking me no questions. You let me be, and must have watched me like a hawk to be able to know what to do for the best. It was lovely to have you there. I don't think I ever thanked you for that either. I was too locked in my grief to say anything at all that day. But I remember your presence, and that it was so good to have you there. And then, that terrible day of his funeral. Sitting next to me, you held me when I began to cry and shout when the coffin came in, and I couldn't look. All my children were there, and you quietly took over so that they were not too afraid, so that I was not too afraid. You must have been so sad yourself, but I couldn't think of anyone else. just myself and my own pain. Sorry about that. So sorry. Mum, you have died. How was it? Did we get it right? I worry that with all our best intentions we failed to look after you in the way that would have been best for you. I am worried that we didn't get your mouth care right. You spent an awful long time with a dry, cracked mouth at the end before I worked out how to keep it more comfortable. Even then, it must have been awful. Did you mind not being able to tell us? I wish I knew we gave you comfort and that you didn't suffer for long, long periods of time in between us coming to check up on you. Did you hear what we were all saying? I wonder if you knew that Alexia and I ended up eating scrambled eggs and having tea at the foot of your bed during your last few days, as if there was nothing wrong. It took ages for you to go, and we just began to live out our lives next to your bed as if you had always been there, comatose, near to death, and just not dying. Could you smell our meals as we carried them in and set little tables at the end of the bed? Alexia and I had a nice little routine going for those few days at the end of August and the beginning of September. I bet if you did hear, you would have longed to join us. Now I am alone, Mum, and I miss you. You were wonderful. You set me a tough set of rules to follow, and I know that you often despaired of me ever following them. Funnily enough, now that you have died, I feel better equipped to understand you and myself. I feel the pressure is gone, the pressure to be someone you could be proud of, and the rather difficult pressure of keeping you feeling happy and involved in my life. I didn't really let you be involved in my life, did I? I like to keep my distance. I know it hurt you. I am sorry too about that. But Mum, I love you. I loved you. You were and are the most loving, kind and wonderful person. I found you difficult. You found me difficult. But we didn't let it stop us from loving each other, did we? The last few years saw us closer than we had ever been, and your last 6 weeks bound us together in love and respect and healing that makes me think that we were always like this at our core. We were always like this together. We were just not ready to let all the other things go that were in the way. So, Mama, I'm glad you are gone, and I am so sorry that you are not here. I am released and feel liberated, and I feel lonely and afraid. Wherever you are, if you can let me know you are okay, I would be really happy. I expect you already know that I remember one of your final pieces of advice to me, not to drive over 30 miles an hour through Fittleworth after some of your friends were caught on a speed camera. I think of you all the time I drive under the speed limit through Fittleworth now, and it makes me smile. Thank you for showing me how to prepare to die, and when it is my time, would you come to collect me? With all my love, gratitude and sadness, goodbye, Tone. This ends part 2 of the book, The Bereavement, and we will start part 3, The Recovery, tomorrow. I will say that that letter at the end made me cry so often I had to keep re-recording it. So that was the first time I read it without crying. But my goodness, it brings it all back. Anyway, we will read the beginning of part 3, The Recovery, tomorrow. Thank you.